I had no support from the people around me, especially in school. Actually, saying that, my family is very, very supportive, but there's only so much that family can do to support. I think that there needs to be integrated support, so there needs to be a number of people helping. So I don't know, specialists, psychologists, psychiatrists. There needs to be a lot of people helping rather than just family, because this is under researched. A lot of people will struggle with strategies to help autistic girls who are going through this, because it's not unusual, but it's not talked about. It's almost a taboo, really. So what we need to understand about this kind of intense obsessive behaviour that girls have with people. So obsessive behaviour, especially in teenage girls, can be very innocent. So a lot of people catastrophise when they think about this obsessive behaviour and think it can be very negative, but you sort of have to think about it as positively as you can to try and get this young person through their very intense obsession. Obsessions can be completely non-sexual. It doesn't mean that you want to fancy them or you want to be with them. So it doesn't mean if a girl has an obsession with a woman, that doesn't mean she's gay or she's going to identify as gay. So we can't start putting labels on people when they have this obsessive behaviour. If I'm going too fast or you don't understand, please get me to stop, because obviously I know that a lot of people haven't heard this sort of thing before, so you might have some questions. Hiya.
Can I? Obviously, we've only just come in, so we might have missed a bit. Can I ask why you're saying just girls?
Yeah, because so basically, when Mariama asked me, is this International Women's Month?
Yes.
International Women's Month. So we're doing a focus on girls, and obviously, because I'm autistic, my experience is mainly on girls.
Right.
But like I said, it's a massive spectrum. It can impact on boys and girls, but I'm sort of speaking from my experience as a woman, so I don't feel like I can speak on behalf of the men or boys as much, but obviously it all relates to everyone.
Yeah. Okay.
Can I'll contribute towards that. My son is on the spectrum, and he has had a fixation on Laura Hamilton.
Oh really?
You know, the TV presenter.
Oh really?
Yes.
That's
And so
interesting.
it got him into trouble in school, because when he was given the computer, he went and Googled Laura Hamilton.
Yeah.
And it was a bikini picture, and so I got a phone call that he's thinking bad things.
Yeah.
And the teacher said to me, "Oh, it's this blue model, like adult." I said, "Do you know who Laura Hamilton is?" And she goes, "No." I said, "Well, I don't know if you're a primary school teacher, because that is a child's TV presenter.
Yeah.
And I know my son has a fixation on that lady. So it can happen with boys as well.
Yeah,
but I'm just
definitely,
learning that you can use it in a positive."
Yeah.
Well, we work in a residential children's home, and we've got a young boy who he's fixated on a lot of things. He gets fixated on quite a lot of things. So that's why I was asking why.
Girls.
It was just
Yeah,
talking
definitely
about
sort of, it can impact anyone really. I'm just speaking as a woman, I guess.
Yeah.
And yeah, so obsessive behaviour can be very complex for a young person to understand. There's not always a reason behind the obsessive behaviour. So if you're obsessed with someone or even something, it's not always a reason. So people ask sort of why you're obsessed with it, or what are the triggers, where did it come from? But it can be so complex, it can be difficult to describe. I mean, I can't even describe. If someone asks me sort of, why do you think you're obsessed with this? Why do you think you're obsessed with this person? Sometimes there's no reason, sometimes there is, sometimes there isn't. So it's all about trying to think of ways you can help young people understand their obsession and sort of where it came from, and think about the triggers and sort of what started it. Etc., which people have always found quite difficult with me, because my obsessions are so very complex. But I understand that other obsessions are a lot more simple. So again, it does depend. So how can parents and professionals help with this intense negative obsessive behaviour? So you've got the specialist interest, which is a positive behaviour, because you can encourage it and it doesn't take over a young person's life. Or you can have the obsession fixation, which is a very negative thing, because it can take over their life and the things that they are obsessing with are unattainable. So being understanding. So young people with obsessive behaviour have enough going on in their life without being judged by people around them. So I don't know why you're obsessed with that, or why do you like this, why do you like that. It doesn't matter. We just have to accept each person as an individual, and that everyone is going to have individual interests and individual fixations, obsessions, that sort of thing. So we've got to be careful not to judge people or not to put them down on the things they're obsessed with. Because like I said, there's not always a reason. Sometimes it just happens, you know? Listen to them. Autistic people are champions of their own learning, and I think a lot of the time people don't include them enough in the decisions that they make for them and their action plans or whatever kind of plans you put in place for them. So when you're having a meeting, if your child's at school and they've got in trouble over, like Mariama just gave us an example, and they're sort of getting in trouble over, something that happened at school, include them in the meeting, ask them what they want, ask them what happened, just include them and ask them what they think will help. Because sometimes they don't always know, just like every other child, they're not going to always know what's going to help them, and just like adults, we don't always know what's going to help us. But it's so important just to keep them included all the time, and ask what they want and ask what they think that can help. Because when I was in school, often no one asked me, and they just assumed because I had a disability that I was incapable of making my own decisions about my learning. So it's important not to make that mistake. In education and in social care and in home settings, that can all be applied there. There's a common consensus that autistic people need to adapt to our society, but instead I think that neurotypical people need to adapt to their society. So, for example, autistic people making changes to their environment to please neurotypical people. Instead, neurotypical people need to move towards their environment. So professionals and parents basically need to make adaptations. So I follow the social model of disability. I'm not sure if you're all familiar with that. But the social model of disability basically says that autistic people aren't disabled in any way by nature. They are disabled socially and emotionally and sometimes physically by society. For example, a person in a wheelchair is disabled because there's no step-free access in a building. That's what makes that person unable to access the building, not their actual condition, if that makes sense. So it's thinking things socially rather than the medical model sort of focuses on, you have a condition, you need to be treated, and almost it's your fault, you've got this condition. So I always think about things by the social model of disability, and why should autistic people be the ones to change? Why can't people around them be the ones to change, to adapt more to their society rather than vice versa? So basically I've got a little scenario here about stuff we just talked about, having the obsessions with people. And I don't think you can see it on your thing because it is ridiculously small, so I will just kind of read it to you. So Ruth is 15 and she has a growing obsession with another girl in her peer group. The school panic when they find out and separate both girls in every way possible, including in putting them in separate classes and putting them in separate areas of the school for break and lunch. How could you have handled this better as a teacher, professional or a parent? So obviously this is a very negative way to handle obsessive behaviour. So have any of you guys got any ideas about how you would have done that better? Hiya.
Hi. Well, first I'd find out or try, if there's no reason to separate them, it might be just that the girl really likes the other girl and would like to be like her, for instance. So if there was nothing safeguarding reason, I wouldn't separate them.
Yeah. So it's all about this thing about catastrophising, so people panicking and people thinking the worst. I think I said earlier about sort of everyone thinking that the obsessions have to be sexual or have to be, negative, and although they are intense, they don't always have to have sort of negative feelings towards each other. It can be a very innocent obsession, even though it may be very powerful. So the important thing is in this situation isn't to catastrophise and say, oh, let's put one goal here, let's put one goal there. I think the most important thing is to just sort of talk to the Ruth who's having the obsessive behaviour, and sort of find out, you know, sort of what's going on and how she feels. And so, like you said, if there's no safeguarding concerns, there's definitely no reason to separate the girls, and that's a very bad example of inclusion, because when I was at school,